Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a little different from what I usually do on this channel. I've been wanting to make a video like this for a really long time after I mentioned it and a lot of people seemed interested in the idea and said that it would be helpful. I decided I needed to sit down, write some things out, and have a conversation like this. Today I am just going to share my story and tell you about my experience being openly gay in high school. This is not a how-to guide. I would not even call this an advice video. I just wanted to share my story as someone who just graduated high school a few months ago. I know what it's like, and hopefully my story can help one person. I also thought about this a lot and decided to call this video being gay in high school rather than being LGBTQ+ in high school because I don't know what it's like to be lesbian or bisexual or transgender or asexual or anything else. However, I am sure there are some similarities with experiences, some things that are harder, so I just wanted to put that out there before I get started. I am just a person who has experienced this and am sharing my story. So anyway, if you don't know me, my name is Tiernan. I'm 18 years old now. I came out when I was 13. I come from a very accepting household. I have two moms. Nevertheless, going through middle school and figuring things out about myself was so terrifying and confusing. You know, when you're at that point where maybe you realize what you're used to thinking about yourself maybe isn't true, you sort of convince yourself that you're gonna have to lie about it like forever. For me, that translated into a lot of obsessive thoughts, like putting ultimatums on myself and really just forcing myself into isolation. And I know that there are others who have it way worse with their family situations. Everyone should come out when they are ready and not when other people are pressuring them to or like constantly asking them. Coming out for me sort of started slowly and like dropping hints with my closest friends. One day it seemed like everyone just knew. I decided to go into high school being open about it. I went to a public high school with about 2,000 kids. I was involved in the speech team and theater and yearbook, and those were things where being openly gay was really no problem. You know, in the school, especially like with people older than me at the time when I was a freshman, there would always be like a handful of gay kids. Some of them talked to each other, some of them didn't. I didn't really know where my place was in all of that. Freshman year, I found myself the victim of many freshman girls' GBF title. Personally, I despise the entire concept of the GBF. It took me a little while to realize this. Treating someone like an accessory who you just want to go shopping with and gossip with and talk to like their little puppy. Like, no, you do not need that. You are your own person. People who try to claim you or accessorize you are not your real friends. One of my current best friends, I always tell her this story and she just doesn't remember this moment. Freshman year, when we had just met each other, I was standing in the hallway one time surrounded by these girls. You know, I was going along with it and like making jokes and being sassy, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong. I just mean when it comes to true friendship, people like to take advantage. But I just remember my friend walked into this circle, grabbed my arm and pulled me away and started walking with me, and she goes, "I don't like the way they talk to you." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "They're not talking to you like they really care about you, or they want to be your friend." That moment for me was something that really meant a lot and really changed my perspective on the way that I let myself be treated throughout high school. My experience with bullying, I did experience it, but just knowing other people's stories and hearing about other experiences, my experience was medium to mild. I mean, people are always talking and saying things that I hear about, and it just seems like that's a fact of life. But there's something about entering high school, already being out, you know, not denying it from anyone who asked, which they did. I felt like that helped. I've had rocks thrown at me, I've had gum thrown in my hair, but strangely enough, the hardest thing to experience was just feeling like people didn't want to be my friend because I was gay. This would mostly happen just like with random people who like I'd be getting along with or having a conversation with, and I just felt like this weird tension from them. And then the next day you overhear them with their friends, they're using words like faggot and like that's so gay. I really had to learn to speak up. During my junior year, I had this amazing teacher who was my yearbook advisor. She, myself, and my best friend started a GSA at our school because we didn't have one. There was a real need for one. Over 100 people came to the first meeting just because they needed it or wanted that environment in the school. So for the later part of high school, you know, I got to be one of the founders of the GSA and the president my senior year. That was really important to me because I felt like I was really privileged with my experiences as a queer person in high school, and I knew there were a lot of people who were dealing with things that I couldn't even imagine. You know, if you're someone who's in high school, a GSA is a great place, whether you already have a supportive environment, to offer it to someone, or if you need a supportive environment, to have one. You know, if there's not a GSA at your school, one can be started. We found that it was just a really good way to call people to action and, you know, to speak up in their classes. Even teachers, just when they would hear comments or experience bullying, you know, it was a way for them to put a rainbow sticker on their door and say, like, this room is a safe space and your bullshit will not be tolerated in here. And were there people who had things to say about the GSA? Yes, but overall that is one of the things in high school I am most proud of. It was really important at that point for me to use my voice to do something good. And when you do that and you share your experiences, even just by being a presence, some of the messages that I've gotten ever since I even just mentioned being gay on my channel, you know, just by being there, you can be someone who is a helpful voice to someone else who maybe needs that. And the thing is, you know, like these days the world will give you a lot of reasons to be afraid and to hide. The truth is there are even more reasons to be proud, and you know, sometimes it's harder to find those reasons, but they are there and you have a supportive community whether you're there yet or not. You know, it breaks my heart to hear some of the stories that I've heard, but that's why things like a GSA and groups like GLSEN and the Trevor Project are so important. Overall, for me being gay in high school, I would like to think that it was one of the less interesting things about me. Senior year especially though, I did feel a lot of responsibility with representation in a good way. I know that it's hard to be yourself, but trust me, it gets better. And I said this wouldn't be an advice video, and it's not, but that is the truth. You have the power to be so much braver than you ever imagined. And when that happens, it's relieving and it's beautiful. It can be surprising sometimes, like the things that people don't realize, and you can be that voice that enlightens people really with your experience and your knowledge. You know, when you have a life experience that is outside of the norm, I consider it my responsibility to, you know, rather than blow up at people when they ask questions, you know, as long as they have good intentions, to help and educate people to the best of your ability. You know, like, yeah, it's offensive when your friends say that. Yes, this is a thing people go through. Yes, the GSA is something that the school needs. I was really lucky to have some amazing teachers and staff really helped me out a lot with being open. There were not always a lot of loud and proud voices, but you know, I wasn't the first and hopefully I won't be the last, but my hope is just that my experience helped someone else and left a positive impact on the school. You know, that's what I wanted. There was a moment in Glee, and I think it was towards the end of Kurt's career, his high school career, where, you know, after he was openly gay for most of high school, there were younger people who had obviously looked up to him and really were able to pull from his confidence. So when I think about my high school career, I really like to think that that's something that I left behind too. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I would love to continue this conversation. And I don't mean for this video to have like an extra serious or sad tone to it. You know, my experience was very happy and mostly smooth, but the fact is that it's not for everyone. So I just want to be conscious of that when I'm sharing my own story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one, and goodbye.